We're happy you could join us today because we indeed do have a dynamic keynote speaker who has a broad background in successful business ventures. He's a trailblazer in the crypto and digital currency, one of the earliest adopters of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other blockchain technologies. He raised over $5 billion of capital for his innovative businesses. He is currently the chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation and co-founder of EOS Alliance, Block One, Blockchain Capital, Tether, and Mastercoin. Now, as a traditional banker, I've been looking forward to his speech today, not only to get more insight into the digital currency world, but also perhaps you might have some tips for all of us, what we can invest in to get a 10,000% return, because you know the real estate taxes are pretty high here. If you can help us offset that, we would appreciate it. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce a pioneer in global digital currencies and a leader in the fifth industrial revolution. Please help me welcome Brock Pierce.
So we're glad to be here again. The room is filled with people. Glad to see that all happening. So thank you for this opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Brock Pierce. I'm a technology entrepreneur. I got into this period, I'll skip the first period of my life, but I got into virtual worlds back in late 1999, the year 2000. Think of these as virtual nations. This is when video games and networking became connected. We were able to create these persistent worlds. You may have heard of World of Warcraft or Second Life. And I recognized that human behavior inside of these environments doesn't change from the analog world. The same things that motivate us here motivate us there. Now, our behavior might be a little different in terms of how we behave when we're physically in front of someone and have to face the consequences versus anonymously on the internet. But I recognize that the virtual money, the digital currencies in these environments had value because it provided utility or social status, a lot of the same things that we pursue money for in this world. And so I built up a team in my early 20s of about 400,000 people, principally in China, that would work inside of these virtual nations to mine or accumulate currency that I would then sell by the billions and billions of dollars all over the world. I was PayPal's largest merchant for years. I was instrumental in the launching of Ant Financial, started the first television channel in China by a foreigner, paving the way for Rupert Murdoch and Sumner Redstone to come in and all sorts of stuff. And in 2005, I developed my relationship with Goldman Sachs Principal Strategies. This was the black box within Goldman, responsible for 40% of their income. It was the proprietary trading desk. They took a look at how I was managing the markets of the equivalent of thousands of virtual nations, and they're like, wow, in some ways what you're doing is more complex than the global financial system. Like, who are you? What is going on here? And so I was their first ever private investment. We brought in economists that we would then, test economic theory with, because in the real world, it's hard to experiment with these things because the consequences are severe. But inside of a virtual world, you can test things. And so we would tenure professors, and eventually I wanted to see if these same ideas could be implemented in the real world. And we've done that with Mastercoin, where I was chairman. We invented the ICO, for anyone that's heard of that, which is changing capital formation, making it so that we can democratize opportunity, so that entrepreneurs anywhere in the world can access the resources necessary to build pioneering things. At Blockchain Capital, we started the first venture fund in the space. We just closed. I don't run the fund anymore. I'm like a doula for creation. I assist in the inception, conception, birth, and then I kind of go do the next thing. And then I check on them every couple of years just to see how they're faring. But we started the first fund. I think we're on track to be top 3, perhaps #1 most successful venture fund of all time. Our 5th fund just closed, $300 million, led by PayPal and Visa. This was PayPal's first ever limited partnership. investment. Started Tether. This is a very unique one. We digitized the US dollar. We put the US dollar on the Bitcoin blockchain to give it all the same attributes. That digital dollar has about 60 billion wrapped up right now. It's doing about $60 trillion a year in transactional volume right now. It's the most traded cryptocurrency in the world. We invented a category called stablecoins, which is showing central banks around the world how technology can be used to enhance or upgrade their monetary systems. Many governments are piloting this, dozens and dozens, perhaps more than 70. The Chinese government figured this out and understood what problem we had solved, and they're by far the furthest along. They've created the Chinese digital yuan to challenge the US dollar's reserve status in the world. Kind of a big deal, which is why I spend so much time trying to educate our elected officials and our civil servants, because we are living through that fourth or fifth industrial revolution. And it's not just we have to compete state to state, but we also have to we live in a global world. We can't just take these things for granted and assume that the status quo will just stay what it is. We have to continue to strive and thrive and work to maintain our status and our position in the world. It's not automatic. And so I understand that it's human nature to fear that which we don't understand, and we conquer fear with knowledge. And it's why I work tirelessly to provide you with the necessary information to make the best decisions possible as community leaders, as legislators, as executive officers, as spiritual guides and coaches. But lots of stuff. I've started 3 banks. I live down in Puerto Rico, invented the first security token. This is how all financial transactions, stocks and bonds, are likely going to settle. We have a $9 billion SPAC that just went out right now. We took over the president of the New York Stock Exchange. It's called Bullish. It starts trading in about 3 weeks. So I've done a lot of stuff, and the stuff that I do is the stuff that no one else will or can. This is stuff that's never existed before, stuff that's never happened. I go far and out of my way to try and understand where we're going, what's coming next, and I've been fortunate enough to see that execute and kind of be there repeatedly. Things that matter right now as we think about the country and the migration of the American people. I don't know if you saw, but most people know that Florida has been seeing a lot of people moving from this region, as well as other parts of the country. A big part of it when it comes to the leading innovators and pioneers is really because of Mayor Suarez, one of the 3 mayors of Miami. Mayor Suarez announced that and passed a bill that if you work for the municipality of Miami, you can receive up to 100% of your paycheck in Bitcoin. This is not moving the needle in terms of the actual employees receiving those paychecks. But what it did is it sent a signal to innovators and entrepreneurs all over the world and all over the country that you have a government that embraces the future. You have a government that embraces this and is willing to listen and to support and wants to attract innovators, and it's happening. We threw a conference down there, BTC Miami 2021. It was the largest conference in the world. We brought 30,000 people to Miami for a week from all over the world. When Bitcoin hits $100,000, a majority of all the world's billionaires will have made their money from Bitcoin, a majority. We're about 240 million people globally right now, 30 to 40 million Americans. And these are not minor numbers. This is not like an idea that may have some potential future. It's very real, and it's happening at scale. The fundamental philosophy or tenets of this, at its core, is this is a system that is delivering and creating accountability. It's bringing transparency. It's driving inclusivity. 4 to 4.5 billion people on the planet are on or underbanked. The majority of the population of the world do not have access to financial services in the way that we so fortunately do. I mean, this is what led El Salvador, the president of El Salvador just passed laws that take effect in about 1 month. September 7th, Bitcoin is legal tender in the country of El Salvador. Every merchant, every business is legally obligated to accept Bitcoin for all products and services. 70% of the population of El Salvador is unbanked. They have no financial services. If you get in an Uber in El Salvador, you have to pay cash. The government is giving $30 of Bitcoin to every single person in El Salvador. I mean, these are really interesting things. I've got about 30 world leaders, maybe 40, presidents, prime ministers, premiers, all wanting to follow suit. Like, this is happening. I don't know if you saw at the end of the New York City primary elections, but Eric Adams announced at the end of that night that New York City is going to be the Bitcoin capital of the world, the capital of capital again. And good job, Miami, but New York's paying attention. We understand that innovation, is here and it's real, and that we want to be the beneficiaries of that change. I care a great deal about America staying the capital of innovation. And what we're doing in terms of infrastructure is so important. How do we expect America to continue to lead the way and innovate if we're living on 20th century infrastructure? The rest of the world is upgrading to 21st century infrastructure. And how are we going to continue to invent the latest and greatest things if we don't even have it, if we don't access it, if we don't even know what it is? And there's so many wonderful things that we can do. It's a real privilege and an honor to be able to speak to you. Let's continue to democratize opportunity and drive accessibility for everyone, top to bottom, and technology's doing it. You used to have $1 million to get a private banking account where you could access high-yielding investments. Because of financial services and innovation, things like Robinhood that are allowing you to access the markets, or things like digital gold, which is really what you should think of Bitcoin as being most like. We're making it so that opportunity is available and accessible to everyone. Let's continue to do that. I'm grateful to be here. I wish New Jersey well. I'm here once or twice every month, and to the extent that I can be of service, let Ezra know. He knows how to reach me best. Thank you so much. God bless.